Welcome to another episode of the Three Count. We're going over Hell in a Cell tomorrow. You got your boy Benny and Jaquan. Let's
What up?
go.
What up?
Paulinho in the house. You. All right. So this one is a short 5-card match that we know of so far right now. So we got Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in the I Quit match in the Hell in a Cell. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Bayley versus Sasha Banks. All those three matches are for titles. Jeff Hardy versus Elias, and then you got Otis versus The Miz for the Money in the Bank contract. Let's start off with what I believe is going to be the first match of the night, which is Jeff Hardy versus Elias. This is now coming back. They're picking up the storyline where supposedly Jeff Hardy ran over Elias, and that's what is going on with, which is a little annoying because they brought back Elias as a heel when he was a face when he left. And I get the reason, but I got too many heels, man. Like, why? It's too many heels. So, Jay, what are your thoughts on this one? How do you see it playing out?
This one's tough because both guys need a win. Both guys really need a win. Hopefully, I think this is them closing the loophole on this. If they're smart, Jeff will win, and we'll just move on from this. But I could see them trying to drag this one out a little bit because they don't know when the crowds are coming back. And I think they're saving Jeff for when the crowds come back and they can do the no more words, Jeff Hardy, and give him that last little main event push. So I'm going to go out of the box here and say Elias gets the win just to continue the feud.
Wow. Okay. Benny, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to steal one of Jay's lines right now, and that is that I don't care at all about this feud.
That's fair.
It has the dumbest premise. It's already been proven that Jeff Hardy had nothing to do with Elias getting run over. But he's going to come out on his whole thing where it's just like, oh, well, who do you think it could be? Like, Jeff and Sheamus weren't friggin' feuding with each other. But anyway, I digress. Report came out not too long ago saying that apparently Vince McMahon sees Elias as a main eventer not too far in the future. So I think we're going to go from there, especially considering the fact that he just came back. I got to go with Elias. And I literally have nothing else besides that.
I was a fan of Elias for a while. I think unfortunately to say for me, I sad to say that I think Vince missed a window to push Elias out. There were times when the crowds were there. Like, he works more with crowds. He has to have a crowd there. There is no crowds right now. You can't push him now. You're not going to get the same reaction like you would if you got the crowd there. That's why I say for now, this window passed. I always thought he could be a main eventer. The way he does with the guitar and the singing, all that stuff is great. He'll annoy you. He'll get you. It's just not now. Without the crowds, you can't do it. He's not that type of character. I say Hardy takes this for now, but I don't think this will be the end of it. I think there'll be like one more match before this ends completely. We call it a night. Benny, who did you say again? You said Hardy, right?
Now I got Elias.
You said Elias? Golly,
yeah.
Elias? Really?
Truth be told, honestly, they missed the boat when Elias faced Seth for the Intercontinental title when he was supposed to drop the title. Because I remember them saying Seth was supposed to drop the title then and then move into a main event thing, but then I think Roman got sick or something like that, or something happened with Roman and he got hurt and had to like pull out. So they needed Seth on TV for a long time, or something. It was like around the time with the whole Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns thing. Something happened back then. I forgot what it was. So they needed
probably the leukemia thing.
Yeah. So it was the whole concept of they needed a prominent face on TV because they knew Brock wasn't going to be there. So they decided to let Seth keep the title for longer. I think that was a mistake. I feel like that was a huge mistake because you had a chance to make Elias a bona fide star.
Oh yeah, they had a few chances where
They've had multiple chances, and like
he was tipping the scale. What he needed was that push with the belt. That's it.
Yeah.
He had now to like eating out of his hands.
It's like it. I agree with you. It is a little too late, but I think now that he just came back and you're going to throw him on a pay-per-view to lose, that doesn't make sense. But also, even though Jeff can't afford to lose right now because they're holding off on what the real idea of his final push is, he can afford to lose now and use that as a jump point to go into the no more words Jeff Hardy. So like even Jeff losing you can still get to your end goal. With Elias losing, you get nothing.
We'll see where this goes. It's going to be interesting where Vince goes with this one, to be honest. Because like you guys said, like we read it too, and I heard it as well. He sees Elias as a new inventor, but like we're just saying, I think that ship just passed. It's nothing against Elias. It's just the powers that be want to pull that trigger a little too late. You know, when they have multiple times to pull it, and it for its ability to be successful, the chance to be successful were high. Now it's like I don't think it'll be that high. I mean, I'm not saying he can't do the job. He can't do it. He can't pull it off. It's just the window is closed. You know, it's nothing like if he would have done it maybe like 2-3 years ago, and that's when it would have been better. The moment he had the momentum. You know, I just think right now it's just he doesn't have it right now, especially that he's just coming back now and he's got to get built up. So let's go to the next match on the card: Otis versus The Miz for the Money in the Bank contract. You guys' reactions. I see you guys weren't pleased with the second half of the that storyline last night on SmackDown.
I care even less about this than I do about the other one. Like this
one's the issue. Like we talked before we started recording, is one of those when why put on Otis and then not push him? It's like we haven't seen him we've seen him singles matches, but nothing where it would push him, elevate him to be like, oh, yo, he's a threat for this belt or that belt or whatever belt. You know, everybody still sees him as a comedy joke and like, okay, where's Mandy? Where's Mandy? You know, so it's like that's all we're waiting for right now. It's like Vince and nobody ever hasn't built them yet. So it's like that's why the fans can't get behind him. He hasn't been built. You want to push him to win a belt, but yet you don't build him. So how is anybody supposed to believe he can win a title, a singles title as it is, without being pushed? Unless he uses it with Tucky and they go after a tag team title. You know?
I don't know. Like I said, I was always under the impression that you had to use the briefcase for the world title. But honestly, to me, putting the briefcase on Otis is no different than back in the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression era, throwing the thing on Scotty 2 Hotty or Grandmaster Sexy. Like, you know, you're not going anywhere with this. So why do you even do it outside of the fact that somebody wanted to laugh about it when it happened?
Well, it was mainly because Otis was extremely popular. But again, extremely popular doesn't mean that you have to push them into a world title picture. Like, It's okay to have a popular mid-card act. Like, it's okay to have a popular tag team act. That is okay. The New Day has proven that it is wildly successful. But for you to isolate Otis without Tucker, who Tucker is basically his mic, and you put him out there without Tucker and without Mandy, like, that's moronic. It's still like you're killing whatever good momentum Heavy Machinery had is dead. Completely dead. When you're in a situation where you have anemic tag team situation, and you need to rebuild your face side of your tag teams, Heavy Machinery was primed for the picking. Primed.
Yeah.
And it would have made sense for them to cash in for the tag titles because it would have made Otis even more lovable. because he's not doing it for him. He's doing it for the team.
Yeah. I don't know what's worse, the timing on the Elias or the timing on getting Heavy Machinery over and challenging for the titles. I mean, they could have had a brief run, like a 6 months run before you put on anybody else, and then just go where it's supposed
like
to.
Instead of you looking at Shinsuke and freaking Cesaro, or teasing all these other makeshift or throwing the Raw titles on Bobby Roode and freaking Dolph Ziggler, like you could have had Heavy Machinery, who's an actual tag team, who you introduce as a tag team, win the titles and grow. Like they do this
actually
consistently.
Speaks to a larger issue.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that actually speaks to a larger issue with tag teams in the WWE anyway, because you saw, not to get too far off, base or whatever, but they go and they break up the Iconics and then immediately put Peyton Royce back into another tag team.
Yeah, what?
So I don't know what the deal is with like how they're handling everything, but when you have an established tag team, I would think that you would want to push the established tag team over a makeshift one that just came together out of nowhere.
Yeah, the makeshift ones are usually just to build other tag teams.
And like again, you're not gonna sit here and make several different versions of the bar. Like the bar was literally lightning in a bottle and was booked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna do that with any other two random people.
And like, for what it's worth, they were fighting each other before they became a tag team.
It's just,
yeah. Who you got, Jay?
This one is tough because we always talk about playing to the crowd of one. So one would assume that Otis would still win. But I could definitely see them using this to put Miz back into the main title picture, especially in a situation where Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre would then be extremely vulnerable after having a Hell in a Cell match.
Mm-hmm.
And Otis isn't going to cash in anytime soon. But someone like The Miz would be a consistent threat because of his pedigree. But given that you, for one thing, put Otis and I believe Miz and Morrison on different shows, that's the first thing.
Yep.
I don't know why this is still happening. Because you split up Heavy Machinery.
Miz and Morrison on Raw.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You split up Heavy Machinery in order to still have Miz feud with Otis, who's on SmackDown.
Yeah.
That, again, you split up Heavy Machinery for no reason whatsoever. So that's why this one is a little tougher to predict where they're going. But again, I'm going to give you another off-the-wall one where I'm going to go with Miz. Via nefarious means, but I'm going to go with Miz.
Benny?
This is going to be real interesting. And by interesting, I mean, why the do we have the same picks? I'm actually going with Miz here, too, just because of the fact that that's the only thing that makes sense out of all of this. Like, they want to get the thing off of Otis. They've been talking about getting this thing off of him outside of on-screen stuff for months. And the only thing narratively that makes sense in order to keep this whole feud from being a complete waste of time is if Otis loses the briefcase. That's literally the only thing to me, unless you're going to sit up here and have him win it back at another, event or something like that, which would make everything pointless. But the only thing that makes any sense to me is if Miz wins this. And as much as I hate to see it, because I'm just like, all right, I don't see Miz as a main eventer. He's a mid-card guy that's really, really reliable in that role. I don't see him losing this match.
All right. I got Otis because of the fact it's again Vince. I think he's gonna try to do something with Otis. I don't think he's done. I just gonna pull. He's gonna pull rank and be like, no, Otis wins. Sorry, Miz, and just end it. You know, end it at that point. This feud is ended because they're on different shows.
That's what I hope happens. This is one of the few times I want Vince to pull rank.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same token, like if you're gonna, it makes more storyline sense to give it to Miz because Drew McIntyre seems more vulnerable than Roman Reigns right now. And with Miz's pedigree, a feud with again, it gives him someone else after Randy Orton who is experienced and who's ready made. It gives him a heel
that, and the fact that if it just historically, the Money in the Bank briefcase is a heel prop anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Just like King of the Ring is generally a heel thing because it always leads to the I'm the King type gimmick,
which needs to die too.
That's a whole other thing.
Conversation. All right, let's get off on the let's get going on the first Hell in a Cell match. We'll start off with Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Because I don't think this would be the main event, to be honest.
It's not. It is actually.
Are you serious?
Just announced. It is.
I missed that one. I don't know. I don't. The only reason it's main event is because the title's on Raw. That's it.
I was like, you know what? Good. Leave it in this order because, like I said, I got a That's So WWE type thing that I want to actually bring into this, and it would cause one of the other match, the Universal title match, to be the main event.
Yeah, the way I thought it should have run out was this is first, then Bayley versus Sasha, and then Romans and Jay closes out. Because of the way we all know how it's gonna end out, which we'll get to later on. So that's how I'm trying to reach. It's like how I would have booked it, but apparently this is a main event now. But anyway, this is getting annoying. This storyline really been dragged out. I can't even remember how far back. Now, it needs to end. But here's the problem: who's next on the list for Drew?
Honestly, anybody. You have AJ Styles there who literally can just step in immediately. If you're going to do brand warfare, you don't really even have to worry about that right off of the bat because your champion's going to be, you got Survivor Series coming up.
So I'm not.
So there really isn't that big of a deal. So,
here's the thing. I think that WWE has been trying to give Drew a statement feud to bookend his title run because I think he's going to lose it soon. To whom? I don't know. But
me.
I still believe that because Randy Orton's been basically working as a full-timer recently. I don't think that lasts that long. Like they're using him the best way you can use Randy Orton. But the best thing about Randy Orton is the fact that he's not like I get it. They want him to kind of tie Triple H and solidify his legacy and yada, 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 yada. But you put the title on guys like Randy Orton when you're trying to, like, if this was Randy beating Brock and then Randy feuding with Drew, it would make sense for Randy to get a couple of wins because you're trying to build up Drew as, for him to get the ultimate statement win. But the fact that the roles are reversed, Randy Orton doesn't need this title win, nor does it make sense for Randy to have this title win. Because then again, you make Drew chase and you, in respect, now you put him in the shuffle and you kill whatever, like it's the Kofi thing all over again.
I was behind that run because of the fact that it's funny how in Kofi's run, what was his biggest feud?
Randy. Right.
Same thing here.
And I mean, it makes sense because he's one of the better heels that's ever been in the company. So I get it. It makes sense. But he's not the guy to win right now. He's just not. Like, it makes more sense to me for him to beat a guy like Roman, even though they're both heels, than for him to beat a guy like Drew, because Roman, in essence, is so firmly established at this point that even him dropping the title, you know he'll get back into the title picture eventually. With Drew, because this is what's really solidifying his legacy, him losing at this point would do more damage than it would do good. So I'm going to go with Drew, but it's always my fear for Vince to fall back on his old timers.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this is one of those that will allow Randy to then work a part-time schedule if he loses, because he doesn't need to come back immediately. He doesn't really have to come back to the Royal Rumble, truthfully.
I don't know. The what I find annoying right now is that during the whole time Randy and Drew have been feuding, they could have built another heel opponent for Drew.
I think that's what the Miz thing is.
But that's the thing, it's that wasn't a build. That's just like something being built
again because
slowly.
you don't have to necessarily build Miz because of Miz's reputation. You don't have to build him. He's a microwave. Like, you pop him in the oven real for like 30 seconds, bing bang boom. You put the Money in the Bank on him. Him beating Drew makes sense because it's a sneaky heel thing to do. You get the title flip, and by the time the crowds come back, Drew gets it back off of Miz after months of ducking and dodging. So it buys you more time. And it builds, it gives Miz the payoff of having to wait 10 years to get back into the title run. Like, it pays, it's a double payoff. That's why Miz, to me, makes sense. Because no one's going to be mad. Like, is Miz a main event title guy? Not necessarily.
He's the type he can be the temporary carry.
And that's what you need from him right now. Like, he's not your Triple H, he's not your Rock, he's not your Stone Cold, but he's that next tier of guys that you can throw the title on every now and again, make them a star, and once they lose it, they can go back to the mid card and nobody would say boo. Mm-hmm. But Drew is the type of dude where if Drew were to drop back to the mid card, everybody would be like, yo, this is bull.
Yep.
Like, this is crap. It's the same. It'll be more uproar for Drew than it was for Kofi. And there was definitely a faction of people who were upset about Kofi. And you can tell because they're still talking about it. They're still talking about it in storyline. But then also, there's the whole idea that you have Miz and Morrison. You could realistically, even though Drew is chasing him, you could use the fact that Miz and Morrison are a tag team to reinsert Kofi into a title picture. Along with a guy like Keith Lee, who's still there. Along with, you have Angel Garza, I believe that's on Raw, who you could slowly but surely elevate. Like, you can do a lot in the time in between so that by the time you put the title back on Drew, you have more talent for him to feud with. But if you keep Drew as champion, that's also fine. You just have to finagle ways and do, the gauntlets and the number one contender big, gimmick matches in order to build those heels. Like, you have to do a little more work, but it's doable. Whereas, you don't give Miz the Money in the Bank, Drew still wins. And yeah, you could still throw Miz in there, but it's a little less of an oomph. Like, it's a little less of I want to buy into this story. And that's a part of the problem.
So who you got? You got Drew again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Benny, who you got, buddy?
McIntyre. Honestly, because this feud needs to die. And if it doesn't die, and what's the name? Or rather, if Randy Orton wins, then we're guaranteed another match. And I'm just like, I'm done with this. I don't need it anymore. Now, the issue is that if you beat Randy again, Now, aside from outside the ring type thing, you've had him lose to McIntyre 3 times. The only way I see this working out in his favor and still keeping him not necessarily relevant, because Randy Orton's always going to be relevant, but relevant to a main event type program right now, is if you continue the trend that they did at Clash of Champions, whereas you have somebody come in and cost him the match, i.e., if he is healthy, Edge.
And that's the concern, is if he's healthy.
Well, you don't even have to. What you could do is you can have Edge just like show up. You don't have to do anything. You just show up at the ramp. You know, like I get what you're saying. He could show up the ramp, and just show up, and then like Drew hits him with a claymore, and then Drew just goes ballistic. Drew just goes ballistic, and he's like, "I'm gonna end this," and just claymores him, and puts him off the shelf. That way, you can kind of freeze that feud until Edge comes back, and just say Randy's out for insignificant time because of the injury that he sustained in Hell in a Cell.
Again, very doable. And it's smart booking. But the problem is we don't really know when Edge is going to be back.
Right. It was a torn bicep for him, right?
Yeah. Tricep, I think it was.
So, I mean, realistically, maybe he can be back around February, right around Mania season.
Yeah.
Because I think ideally you want to finish that around Mania season.
Yeah, you can have, we could do is, like I was saying, you could have Randy out for insignificant time, have him come back for the Rumble, and then he's like, you can say maybe Final 4, and Edge does it again. He comes out, distracts him, Randy gets eliminated. Now he costs him twice the match at Hell in a Cell title match, and then the ability to win Royal Rumble. So now it's like, now you're the rivalry, the feud is on it's frozen, but you're still keeping it hot though in the minds of fans that Randy is gonna get pissed because now Edge cost him 2 big matches. So when Edge finally does come back, it's like, okay, now there's a little more heat onto this than there was before. There's a little more background on this. Right. You know? I mean, that's something I know, like, and like pencil, because that's smart booking, but I don't know if Vince is gonna want to do that. So I think we all agreed Drew's gonna win this one because of the fact that we don't want to see us anymore. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Next one is Bayley versus Sasha. Hell in a Cell.
This is another one of those, like, type of matches where the trajectory of the rivalry says one thing, but the audience of one says the other. I mean, Bayley has had one of the most successful runs that I did not expect from a person of color in a long time. And she's evolved her character to a point where we never thought it was possible. And she's done great work with it.
Let's keep it a buck. Like, who would have thought that Bayley would have been a great heel?
Not me.
Not me, bro.
Check the tape. Check the tape. I was calling for it a long time. And I'm like, bro, if she's ever going to survive in this company, she has to have a heel run, and it has to be great.
You say
I feel like she
has to.
I know, and I said I feel like she has the capability to do it. You guys were like, no, her character's too bubblegummy. I'm like, exactly. That's why she'd be great. And you're like, you know, you guys were like, they're never gonna do it. They're never gonna do it. And I kept saying, like, yo, she's gonna be great if she does it. If they let her do it,
we don't
and
trust
they let her do it the right way.
That's the thing.
Yeah. No, and that's granted, but you said who called it? Check the tape.
Yeah.
I definitely did call it.
Man, I don't know. I didn't listen to us because I think, didn't we call a faction heel run also for like Roman Reigns in the group too?
We called that back.
Right?
Way back then.
Like we did call that. And it's like,
probably
I'm like,
a year ago.
I need to start checking YouTube and look at the analytics and see if like anybody from WWE is like watching our videos or something, man. Because we be calling some stuff. I'm like, I keep forgetting. I'm like, yo, didn't somebody say that in one of the recordings already?
We've had that. How many times have we had that conversation where we'll say something and then 3 weeks later they'll do it and be like, wait, hold on, didn't we just?
Yeah.
We just talked about this.
But yeah,
We deserve some royalties, bro.
Yeah, Bailey's been on a hell of a run with this belt. Like we're talking about over 900 days already.
Yeah,
which is a heck of a run. And
I think again she's second only to Charlotte in terms of total days in a reign.
I think so. And
Which again,
I'm happy for her because of the fact that, you know, she went heel. 2, she changed her look completely, cut her hair, new ring gear. I'm happy.
New music, new finisher. Even though I'm not a fan of the finisher, but
I hate that finisher.
I'm not a fan of the finisher. But again, the fact that she barely uses it, I think, is what's been working for her. Is that she barely has to use it because she always wins via heel. Like she wins in a very Shawn Michaels Triple H sort of way where you don't necessarily always have to do your finisher. And like you only do your finisher at like last resort where it's like, okay, I guess I got to do this because I can't cheat.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, no, it works great for her.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing though. They've screwed Sasha Banks so many times.
Oh, yep, bro.
So many times. Okay.
Her record on defending titles on pay-per-view is the worst. And that's what's sad about it because of the fact that she's better than that. She's better than what that record should be. It's just poor booking for her.
That and injuries. Like, let's keep it real. She's injured. She very much, because she is so small and because of the style in which she wrestles, she's injury prone. Like she's injury prone. This is the healthiest she's been in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so
let's be fair.
We have to put that into perspective here. Like, I'm not going to call them racist, even though they are racist, but I'm also going to give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to Sasha Banks because sis can't stay healthy. Like, she's one suicide dive away from pulling the like L17 vertebrae in her back and being out for 8 months again. Like, that's what happened with the match with her and Becky Lynch. You seen the way she wrestled. She bent her back so many times.
Yep.
And then couldn't walk for like a year and a half. So, I mean, again, has she gotten screwed? Absolutely. Some of them are warranted, though, because it's like, I can't put the title on you if the next time you wrestle, you hit the stairs wrong and you're out 6 months. Next thing you know, the women's title is going to look like the NXT title. But we're not going to talk about that until much later. Anyway.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I love the fact that I wish they would have done it at SummerSlam because it would have been way more of a poetic justice to have them have that banger at NXT Brooklyn. I think it was 3 all those years ago, SummerSlam weekend, and then have them have the same match at SummerSlam, but the roles reversed. You know, if you're going to go for continuity, that would have made a hell of a lot more sense. But beggars can't be choosers. So, putting them in this type of match, in this type of blood feud, but roles reversed from their first time, beautifully written, beautifully booked. I don't get what the big thing with the chair is now, like the chair being the ultimate equalizer, like we don't have a bunch of other weapons here. But I digress. Like I said, beggars can't be choosers. All that taken into account, tentatively, I'm going to say Sasha Banks just because it makes sense. But it also would not surprise me if Bayley came out with the victory because Vince still does not trust Sasha Banks.
Benny?
But I'm going to go with Sasha Banks.
Benny?
All right. This right here is the most torn I've been on any match on this card. Had this feud started at Clash of Champions rather than this being it isn't the first match because they did the SmackDown match, but had this feud started at Clash of Champions, being that the first match rather than this being their first pay-per-view match, I would be 100% on Sasha Banks. All right. The problem that I'm having right now is the fact that because we're at this stupid gimmick pay-per-view, that you're forcing this freaking Hell in a Cell match on this feud that literally just started. It makes me wary of actually going all in on Banks, just because of the fact that typically in a feud, the heel takes the first match. That's just historical WWE type percentage logic. Um, Unfortunately, now I'm gonna have to leave it up to the coin because I have no freaking idea. So wherever this coin lands is where I'm going. If it lands on heads, I'm going Sasha. If it lands on tails, I'm going Bayley, and it's a head. So I'm going on Sasha Banks.
That's kind of the attitude at this point with this match, because history says one thing, storyline says another, the crowd of one says another. So there's no real way to predict this match.
Nope.
Because it feels like the feud isn't going to be over per se, but with all the new talent around, you kind of need a new champion to restart the women's division.
Now, the one issue that I have with saying, outside of everything that I had already put out there before, the one issue that I have with putting Sasha Banks as the champion right now is Bianca Belair. Because if you're going to go out there and you're going to keep Belair as a face, Sasha's still a face. That's, face versus face. They don't like doing that.
Is Sasha a face though?
She is right now.
Tweener. I think she's a tweener, to be honest.
That's my point. I don't think Sasha Banks, the character, is a face. I think Sasha Banks, the character, is pissed at her friend, who they were also heels, for screwing her over when she had no intention on turning on her, even though they hinted at it. So
right,
that doesn't make
we
Sasha
don't have a crowd right now either.
Yeah, so that doesn't make Sasha Banks a face per se. That makes her face in this circumstance. Sasha Banks can turn heel that fast with one conversation. All she has to do is bring up the Charlotte NXT thing, and she's a heel.
I'm sticking with Bayley. I think it's gonna be a feud that's gonna go for a little bit. I think my issue that I look at it the way I'm trying to look at the way Vince looks at it is he's trying to make sure that Sasha can stay healthy before he puts the belt on her. Before he changes the pay-per-view record on her. Can she stay healthy? And we have to remember too now, there's no more live shows. So that means the less wear and tear on the wrestlers, men and women. So that's helping
for now.
Because now she's only wrestling once a week compared to like 6 or 7 times a week, most likely. As far as we don't know. This is a guess. I'm just throwing it out there. We don't know how many times they have her wrestling a week. When matches are there. So
essentially, it was between 5 to 7 times, depending on what the road schedule was.
Yeah,
but it was at least 5 times.
Yeah, and that's gonna take a toll. But like now, when you only have one match per a week, no less than one match, as if you're wrestling. Unlike yesterday, she didn't wrestle on SmackDown. She just showed up, beat the crap out of Bayley. So I think she can stay healthy, but I think they want to make sure she can stay healthy with the way things are right now. So I'm thinking Bayley's gonna win this one, and I hope they start building Bianca out for another threat for Bayley. And unfortunately, I think that will lead to a triple threat match before it becomes a one-on-one with Bayley and Bianca Belair.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't think. I think as much as Bianca, because again, I pair this with what I saw on Talking Smack. It's very much one of those like, oh, I'm coming for that title. I'm coming for that title. But we're also in the twilight of the year. And all that means to me is when you start hearing all these people chirping about I'm coming for a title, that is just giving you people to root for the Royal Rumble. Because now we're about to be in Royal Rumble season.
Yeah.
It is the end of October, early November. You have Survivor Series, and then you have I think one more pay-per-view in December, which TLC. You're not gonna have you're gonna have TLC, which you're not gonna really have a title change unless it's a mid card or a tag title. Like unless you're gonna have a banger of a TLC for the World Heavyweight title, which again, cool if that's what you want to do. I don't recommend it, but cool. All of this is a setup for the Royal Rumble. I think Bianca Belair is primed to win the Royal Rumble. But here's my issue with Bianca Belair right now. She is unfortunately in the same company as Charlotte Flair.
That was my point right there.
And Rhea Ripley, who Triple H is over the moon about. And she, in that tier, she's definitely a third. Like, she's on the same tier with Bayley and Sasha in terms of company favorites. And I think, depending on when you bring Charlotte back, because I do think she's healthy, she's just taking time off. I think she comes back in the Royal Rumble and they want her to win it. I don't think that's a good move, but I think that's the plan.
I could absolutely see it. There is one other thing I wanted to bring up about this, and it just dawned on me. This is Sasha's third Hell in a Cell match that we're going into. Sasha is currently right now 0-2 in these Hell in a Cell matches, and she's lost to Becky and she's lost to Charlotte in matches that, to be honest with you, granted, this is me being biased as a Sasha Banks fan, but she probably should have won both of them.
If not one, if not, she should split. She definitely should have split with Becky. Like, she should have won that one with Becky.
Absolutely should have won last year. There's no question that she should have won that match. So,
but and that's a part of my like, I still think it's Sasha Banks, but there's a lot against Sasha right now.
What I was actually trying to get to was the fact that they have to give her a win. I mean, they don't have to, but they really should give her a win. If you want to keep Sasha as a relevant, credible threat to the title, you cannot have her continuously lose these big game matches.
Yeah, because at that point you turn her into like a bad version of Ricky Steamboat at this point. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Ricky Steamboat was solid, bro.
That's why I said a bad version. That's why I said a bad version of Ricky Steamboat. That's why I specifically said a bad version. Before all y'all old people attack me, I specifically said a bad version.
So, yeah, I got Bayley winning this one. And I think the reason why I say Bianca is because they mentioned that Vince wants to push Bianca. Give her a good push, so I could see it going along around this end of the year, and maybe she might, if she's not in the Royal Rumble, I can see her fighting for the title at the
Royal Rumble. Like, that's another way to win. Like, you still win in a sense if you do this, because if Charlotte comes back and Charlotte's on Raw, so if she comes back and wins the Royal Rumble, now you finally have somebody who can take the belt off Asuka. Because as much as we hated Asuka's reign, Asuka's had a lengthy reign ever since Money in the Bank. She's had the title since June.
Yeah.
So her losing to Charlotte, even though I will say her losing to Charlotte twice at WrestleMania, that's messed up. But for the purposes that be, I'd understand it unless Charlotte has the match at Royal Rumble.
This is my thing with that. That first match, Asuka should have won.
We all know that.
Absolutely.
Asuka
we all know that.
And then this year, it was set up for, then Charlotte could win it. But that's the problem with the booking that Vince has. He doesn't think tomorrow or next month. He thinks right now.
There's a very big, there are several big factors here that we have to kind of comprehend with. There's the Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler factor, right? That eventually those titles are going to come off those two. And when they do, those are two prime candidates to go after Asuka. That's number one. Number two, I don't know if you guys have been listening, keeping your pulse on the interwebs. Ronda Rousey started training with Johnny Storm.
Yeah,
gearing up for a comeback. So Ronda Rousey's also coming back.
Yeah, we just don't know when, because her contract ends, I think, after WrestleMania, I think they're saying. So she's saying that she's making a comeback for a final match at WrestleMania they're hoping to book that against Becky, from what I heard.
Right. But again, that
Which
makes
all
that
depends-
even more complicated because you don't know. She's supposed to have the kid in December, from what I've heard. And that 3-month turnaround, that's tough to expect.
Not only that, I've been listening to Steven Larson talk about this because they bring this up. They brought this up a couple of times. The other thing that you got to actually bring into account when it comes to that situation is how is the baby being born? Because natural birth, it'd be a lot easier for her to. Well, I ain't gonna say easy.
She'll walk sooner.
She's gonna recover. Yeah,
Feasible.
she's gonna recover sooner. If she goes cesarean, they're talking 6 weeks of recovery time before she can do anything. Not train before she can do anything.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
So,
I think she's in bed for like a couple of days, and that's even before she's even let out of the hospital.
Right. And then what does that do? Because again, there's no end in sight for Seth and the Mysterios. So at that point, when she's trained to come back, do you, as a new mother, a new first-time mother, do you then lean on Seth at that point? Or because she's not going to want to just not have any time with her child. And the baby at that point would only be 3 months old. And she would have to spend an enormous amount of time trying to get back after a December birth. So it's like that is tough. I think it's way more feasible for Ronda to go one-on-one with Charlotte at WrestleMania than it is for Becky to come back by Mania.
And we're not saying she can't do it. We're just saying that it's a tough task. And if she does
we're
it,
saying I'm saying, listen, with COVID the way it is,
it's going to be more difficult to kind of get back, because now we're not looking just at like Becky getting back in shape, but like, does she want to risk getting back into, like, I mean, come on now, WWE has had 3 outbreaks so far in the last few months. I'm talking about 3. So I mean, I'd be worried if I was her, like a 3-month-old. Like, yeah, they're saying, "Oh, baby's up," but still, you don't want to take the chance. You never.
Yeah, and on top of the fact that the WWE is also under the part of that investigation that's going on down in Florida.
Yeah.
So I mean,
crazy.
All things considered, like, I don't even know why Becky is even in their plans, unless Becky specifically comes to my, like, if I'm Vince, unless Becky comes into my office, shows me a clean bill from a doctor saying that she's cleared to start working out, and she tells me herself that she wants this and is co-signed by Seth himself, I'm not booking her until June.
Because
I'm not booking her for a comeback until Money in the Bank.
Because Vince would rather lean on stars that are already there than build another one.
Then I would piss everybody off and go with Charlotte.
That's his problem.
I'd go with Charlotte.
Because he has other females to build. He can build other females. He can build Bianca. He can build
Peyton, that's still sitting there.
Yep.
Peyton.
You can go the typical route and go with Lacey Evans.
You got Mickie James. I think she's out again, but I'm not sure how bad it is. But
I think she's hurt.
You can check the pulse with Sonya Deville to see where that's at.
Another one.
Please give me Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
Again, she seems like she's living great, but you don't know what the legal situation with that is.
No,
I do think things have cooled enough where you could bring her back under a new gimmick, since technically she quit.
Daria.
Yeah.
Last I read was that the guy was going for some kind of other plea. It was crazy. Like, he was trying to get away from the whole invasion and the biggest
it's just pleading insanity.
He was doing some other kind of pleas. I was trying to get away from it. It was like, damn, I feel bad.
I mean, I would just check to see where it is and what her psyche is right now, because I'm more concerned about the person than the case at this point. If she feels like she can do it, then I'm gonna trust my talent. But at the same time, I'm gonna give her all the space that she needs to rectify the situation. And again, if all else fails, you have, I hate to say this, you have Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke that you can put the titles, you can put the tag titles on, and you can have Shayna Baszler be the person to wrestle, or Nia Jax be the person to wrestle Charlotte.
You also got
not only
Naomi.
that. I give you one even better than that.
Raw, but Naomi had she had
she's
fibroids.
I don't know
if she's still in recovery or not.
Right, but I'm saying
by WrestleMania she should be clear.
That's what I'm saying, recovery wise, like when she's back, like people who you have.
Yeah, I'm saying, Wills, you brought up putting the tag titles on the Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Well, why not hold the tag titles to what they're actually supposed to be in NXT? You have Dakota Kai and Gonzalez.
Yes, but no, because if you do that, then you have to keep them together, and I don't think long term that's good. But that's for a different show. My recommendation would put it on Casey Catanzaro and Kaden, whatever.
Well, yeah, that's just the people that I brought up.
But I mean, like,
but the idea you could put
that at that point, it reminds me of the early team of Brian Kendrick and oh God, what was the other guy's name? I think it was Billy Kidman and Brian Kendrick. Even though they hated each other, they were really, really good as a tag team. And I think having a situation where you have undersized tag champions who are ridiculously athletic and relatively unknown, and bringing them to the forefront and having everyone underestimate them, and then having them beat top talent in tag teams, because there's a difference between pinning top talent and pinning top talent in a tag match.
Yep.
Because top talent can put tag teams over. It doesn't matter that they lost because it's a tag team. So you can say that they're just not tag team wrestlers. Simply. And you can have them do what Shayna Baszler did and run roughshod until you can develop other women tag teams. But that also frees up Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for what you need them for, which is what they're gonna need now. Because I'm not touching Becky with a 10-foot pole right now. All love to Becky, all respect to Becky, but I'm very much an advocate of the health, especially when it comes to pregnancy, of the person and of the family over my bottom line. And it's the human over profit thing, and that you're never going to sway me on. Because in the world that we live in...
I say this about... Go ahead.
In the world that we live in, there's no way on this green earth that I'm tapping Becky to come back anytime before Money in the Bank. And that's if she wants to come back. And that's saying that she has a healthy delivery. Like, God forbid she has complications. That makes things 10 times more complicated. And that's the last thing you want. You want to make sure that not only is she one of your faces, but she's genuinely a good worker, and you want to make sure that she's healthy, that she's safe, that she's happy. First and foremost. And then you, again, make sure you have not only a story for her to come back to, but you have talent developed enough for her to work with so that she doesn't risk injury. Because that's also something you have to, because again, the woman was already wrestling pregnant at WrestleMania. So you already put her at risk already.
Yeah, that we were trying to figure out what was up with that match.
So, like, that's my whole thing. Like, you already put her at risk as is. So, like, you don't do that twice. Like, you play with fire and you got away with it. You keep that torch on the wall. Go find somebody else. And then again, too, for Charlotte, at least, there's the Rhea Ripley rematch. And we all know that rematch needs to happen. That needs to be fixed. That mistake needs to be rectified. Bull.
Yep.
That was bull. And that and Asuka, to me, are the two that really keep me from rooting for Charlotte, because that's crap.
That's her. That's I think that's her complaining about, like, I want this, I want that. I'm like, bro, it's like she'll get it. That's why I don't understand why she needs to complain about things. She'll get them in due time. I feel like she's pulling weight, she's pulling rank for no reason, just for her own personal gain. When she can get all the gains and everything in due time, she'll get it, and it'll make her legacy even better because it's not like right now people saying, "Well, you pull this, you pull that, you're gonna get this because it's you because you're a Flair." Like, no, if she lets it happen, it'll happen, but it'll happen because of her, not because she's
Yeah.
Flair.
Mhm.
And that's what's annoying me right now because it's like I again like you, I want to root for her, but it's like, yo, when you whine your way into the WrestleMania main event, I don't like that. I
Yeah.
get you were guaranteed it, but like, okay, like it, a lot of people guarantee things don't happen. You know, it's like, nah, yo, just let it go. I get what you want to be first in this and that, but you can't be first in everything. You can't.
No, you can't. And it's one of those situations where you've already separated yourself from your father. So it's not like we're even looking at you as a Flair. It's only when you pull rank and you do stupid things that we're reminded that you are a Flair.
Mhm.
That's it. Other than that, if she just let things happen and go through the ebbs and flows like everyone else, she'd be easy to root for because she is by far, pound for pound, the most talented woman I've ever seen wrestle in my entire life.
It's not that bad. I'm not gonna just take that away from her. There is something she can improve, but it's not crazy. I'm nitpicking at that point. I'm
Yeah,
nitpicking. And
like
we've done
there's
that, but it's like whatever though, you know. So, all right, let's get to the last match of the night, which is obviously that from what we would hope it would be, because of what we saw, we kind of predicted where it would go, and it turns out where it would go. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, which ended up being a I Quit match. If what is it? If Jay quits, he has to join uh Roman Reigns and put part of the faction. And what was the other part? Like if he does,
if he still refuses to do that, then him and Jimmy's bloodlines are excommunicated from the family.
there it is. Thank you. I was like, everyone's so crazy, like uh addition. I was like, that's pretty dope. Like it makes it reality. Like it's crazy. You're excommunicado from the family. So I like the
I
turn where
mean,
they're going with it. And it's funny, like I
I
said before, where this was supposed to be like a place card holder kind of feud for Roman, and it just like it's been so good. They had to extend it, had to make it longer than it was supposed to be.
Right.
You know?
again, I'm mixed about this because I'm all for bringing reality into real life, but something just rubs me the wrong way about that whole head of the table. Like Jimmy and Jay are 30-something-year-old men. Like, what? Like there's just something about that it makes me feel just wrong. Like it emasculates them in such a way. Like I get that they're your younger cousins and they're always going to be your younger cousins, and I understand that. But there's just an emasculating factor about this that just does not sit right with me. It just doesn't. Like it makes them still feel like children to me. And these dudes are whole husbands and fathers to other young men. So I get that it's a story, but something about the whole being excommunicated thing, I'm like, all right, that's a little aggressive here, guys. That's like we know Jay's gonna lose. That's the thing. It's not like it's The Rock versus Roman, where it's like, oh shoot, we don't know who's gonna win that one because they're both kind of heads in the family.
Well, that's something I don't know if you heard about. That's something that's being kind of like they're laying
The seeds are being
laying the
planted.
seeds for
They're
that.
laying the foundation. I
Yeah.
understand.
And
I
they're
get
talking
it.
about a possible WrestleMania match between those two.
Again, I'm all for it. My problem is the last time The Rock wrestled, he tore his bicep off a rock bottom because it wasn't even a wrestle. He rock bottom Eric Roman and tore his bicep. That's my concern. Take that however you want to. The man can't pull off a rock bottom anymore without tearing his bicep.
Well, I mean, you gotta remember, my man.
Not to mention he has to drop weight in order to wrestle because he can't be as big as he is now and wrestle.
It's not just that. We have to remember too. He has. We're not sure if he's filming anything right now. He has a. I know. Wait,
I'm
no,
pretty
he
sure
is.
he's always filming
is.
something.
You
because
can always almost guarantee he's filming something. If he's not filming something, then he's producing something. If he's not producing something, then he's directing
I
something.
just remember
He's not directing something. He just launched his new tequila line that he's very much still doing. If he's not doing that, then I think he's probably doing a collab with Kevin Hart because I think they're going to open up a production company. So again, that to me is not a factor because the answer is always going to be, is he doing something? Yes. Does he have time to put things on the back burner in order to make this happen is the question.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say is we had he was recording something because they were that. Remember he pulled the gate off the damn cement stones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
But he can't pull off a rock bottom without tearing his bicep. So again, like you strong, but you too strong right now.
Me strong like bull.
He wasn't ready.
Like that's my whole thing. Like I would absolutely love for him to have another match, especially with Roman and especially under these terms. And I get it. It's just having Jay be that sacrificial lamb. All I'm gonna do when I see this faction is wait for the turn of Jimmy and Jay on Roman. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like that's what I'm waiting. It's not. You're never gonna get me to buy it because of the fact that this was so forced. It's not like when Roderick Strong joined, UE, where it was yes they beat him up, yes this, and then the turn happened. Or when Cedric Alexander joined the Hurt Business, it was a build up, and it happened. If this would have been a situation where everything else was fine, the whole like you're changing, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, and Jay lost, and then Jimmy came back, and blah 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 blah, and then something happens with Roman where he's getting beat up, and they came out and they helped him. And it's like regardless to what issues we have, we're still family. That's way more convincing to me as them being a faction because it still shows that familial love. Not when if you lose, if you don't obey me, if you don't kneel, then you're out of the family. And it's like, well, the way Jimmy and Jay's characters have been portrayed, they'll just be like, screw it, I'll do my own thing. But Jay's never going to say I quit. Jimmy would. Jay's never going to say I quit in that sense. And to have him do that kills whatever character work and momentum he's done for the last few months. And it kills any character work for him going forward because he's always going to look soft. He's always going to look soft, and no one's ever going to take him seriously. And you created what could have been a future Intercontinental Champion, and you're going to kill it in Sunday. You're going to kill it because he's always going to be the third fiddle now. That's my problem with that stipulation.
So you got Roman.
Yeah.
I think we all have Roman because hands down we know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of like just sharing our thoughts on this one, pretty much. What are your thoughts, Benny?
So y'all ready for some fuckery?
Go ahead.
All right. So remember yesterday when I texted you guys and said I got that's so WWE scenario for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're all in agreement that Roman is probably going to kill Jey Uso in this match, right?
Here it comes. Ready, Jay?
We're all in agreement that there is absolutely zero chance that Jey Uso wins the Universal title, right?
Correct.
Wrong. There is a 1% chance that he wins this title.
How, Sway?
And I'm about to give it to you, and I swear I'm going to preface this in two ways. One, being that I know that this outcome hurts everyone in the title. However, the other preface is, if I get this right, I want 100 points on this freaking high title back here.
If you get this right, you can take the title. I will willingly concede the title. If you get this right.
That Jey Uso can win this championship, and I swear, this popped in my head.
The Money in the Bank.
No.
Oh.
I got one even better.
Oh God.
Because it is so stupid, I can see WWE pulling it off. Roman Reigns is beating the living hell out of Jey Uso, and he is trying to get him to quit, but Jey Uso will not quit. He keeps telling him no. And he's just like, Jay, say You quit. Say you quit. Say you quit. And he's not quitting. And he apparently at some point, instead of saying you quit, Roman Reigns says, say I quit. And the ref goes, you said what? That's the match. Jey Uso's your Universal Champion.
That is so WWE that I can
Mind you,
100% see that happening. I can
my
1,000%
pick is Roman Reigns. But I swear, if that happens,
you are not wrong.
I want to see that happen just because I want to laugh. And just because of the fact that Hell in a Cell over the past 2 years has garnered a reputation for having the dumbest finishes in history.
Oh, yes.
You know
year.
what?
Last year.
It doesn't hurt the title as much as you think it does. It doesn't hurt the title. It in a way, it legitimizes and solidifies both guys' characters while protecting the title and protecting the whole bloodline thing later. It definitely does, because then it solidifies the whole, say for example, some strange way this happens, right? Mm-hmm. Roman leaves in a fit of rage, Jay celebrating, blah, 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 blah. It allows for Miz, who I think is going to win the Money in the Bank, to come in and win the Money in the Bank, and then having Roman say, see, I told you.
You ain't ready for this.
Yeah. The only problem is Miz is on Raw.
Well, that doesn't matter.
But then no, because then at that point you would have to split up him and Morrison.
That's fine.
I wouldn't care.
It's for us, it's fine, but look at what the story is right now.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't make sense to split them up from a story perspective, because then you make Morrison start from scratch.
I'm just saying, as far as like the situation between Roman and Jay, the way I would actually do it, if in fact that was to go down, I would sit up there and I would be like, all right, you gave him the championship, and then you turn around and just be like, all right, he has it, so we got out of it. Because the other thing, I brought this up earlier when we were talking about the Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank being a heel prop. I quit matches don't come around that often. But how often do you hear the face say, I quit?
Yeah.
The one time I remember it even happening, it was a screw job when The Rock beat Mankind. And they had the thing pre-recorded. That's the only time I've ever heard that happen as far as a face. Every other time I've seen an I Quit match, and granted, again, I stopped watching wrestling for about 4 years, but the only time I had seen it in the times that, you know, I was actually watching, the face always won the match.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, the only way that I could see them holding up that trend, and on top of that, holding up everybody's characters, is you take it and you be like, all right, Jay can walk away from this as the champion, all right? But he's not going to be sitting up here holding the title for any type of time. He's going to go out there. Roman's going to be like, all right, you won that one because I messed up, but I've already negotiated, another match for the two of us on SmackDown, and then Roman beats the living hell out of Jay and takes his title back.
Yeah. It's a way to protect everyone involved. I wouldn't have thought about it, but it's a very Hell in a Cell thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's and it puts the onus on the referee instead of the wrestlers, and it almost looks like a botch.
Yep.
So, yeah,
I'm waiting for it now. I'm waiting for it now.
And then I could also see it as, you add the element of the Money in the Bank. Even in a weird way, even if it is Otis, like I could still see Otis kind of taking advantage of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because as silly as Jay being champion would be, you protect him in that way and you have him so beat up anyway that for Otis to just show up and pin Jay protects everyone.
It would be absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm.
It would mean nothing. and then it's a way to get Otis over, and you almost then solidify the whole tribal chief thing with Roman being so upset that it happened that he could almost, in a way, have Jay be like, you know what, you messed this up, you fix it. Jay loses, and then Jay finally concedes, like, you know what, big dog, this
I
is
can't
yours.
do this, right?
I can't do this. And then Roman squashes Otis. So again, it closes the loop on a lot of things if you do it that way.
Yeah, but the thing is, the what it is you're having him kind of concede on it in a way when he's like, whatever, I bend the knee, okay, fine. But in this match, it's like he's getting his ass whooped and he concedes. He's like, okay, you beat me. Okay, you're right. You are the big dog. You are the high chief. You are the boss. You are the head of the table. That's the whole
That
point.
kills Jay's that kills Jay's character completely.
It won't kill it. It won't.
Yeah,
I don't think it will. You have to remember. You have to
if
look
your
at,
whole
you have to
premise
look at
of the
this.
character was I'm the little brother and I'm tired of being the little brother, for you to concede and say, you know what, no, you're the head of the table, then what was the point of everything you said? You completely killed everything you did for the last couple of months.
I know, but you have to remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about Samoan tribal, history and lineage. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're looking at. That's what we have to think about. You can't, like, I know what you're saying, and I know where Jay was going with, but that's why you have to go and look at how Roman's taking about this, how he's trying to run things. You know what I'm saying? That's where everybody needs to think about it. That's why, like, when they say he's gonna run this group, it's gonna be like a tribal faction. That's why the stipulation is, if you don't do this, you and your family will be excommunicado from the lineage. It's like, yo, your kids want to wrestle, they on their own. They're not part of this lineage. They're not gonna get the benefits this lineage gets. I mean, just look at that lineage. Like, if you are part of that family, you are guaranteed a tryout with WWE off the rip. It don't matter. They're already talking about one of the cousins, Lance. He thinks about trying to come back, but he's not sure about it. You know what I'm saying? And he might be thrown into this as well. Like, there's a lot going on here because of this whole tribal like ideology and thinking, the way they're trying to bring it up on, and the way Roman's looking at it, I like it, and I see where they're going with it. It's one of those where, like I said, that's why I said the storyline purpose I see is like he's gonna follow them, and they're gonna follow him. Like, yeah, okay, we're only following because I lost and I quit, and I get it. And then when the brother comes back and the tag teams reunited, they're like, no, we can do this on our own. And they lose to whoever is the tag team champions. And he's like, you can listen to me now? Take Heyman, talk to him, do what he says. They win. They're like, all right, see, now you see why I'm the tribal chief. Now you see why you follow me. And then they're like, all right, cool. And then I'm not sure who else they're gonna add. Tamina, Nia Jax. I mean, that's all that's there in the family. You can't add any more unless you start signing people that are outside of the family that to come in.
Baron Corbin.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. It just, for me, it if you're going to, like, it's like with Big E. If Big E would have lost to Sheamus, will we take Big E seriously at all? No. It's like, if you're going to sit up here and say we're gonna push these guys as single stars, even if they're in a tag team, now again, Jay's always going to be looked at as third fiddle, wherein he found a way to distinguish himself from this, and you basically cut his knees out from under him, doing it the way you said do it. It chops his knees out completely and delegitimizes any push he has for maybe the next 5 years, until people start to forget about what happened.
Singles title. Remember, he's a tag team title. He's a tag team. He's not singles. He's tag team.
Right.
The only reason he was thrown into this was because his brother was hurt. He had nothing to do.
Right. But is he, are you just looking at him as a tag team wrestler purely?
Yep.
That's the difference between me and you, because I feel like, again, he's proven over anything else that he's capable of doing things on his own.
I'm not disagreeing with you. But what's more valuable, the tag team Usos or Jey Uso by himself?
We don't know because you've not been able to put any value into Jey Uso. You've not actually given him anything to show can he run on his own. Right. We know he can run a feud with his cousin. We know that. We know he can handle himself on the mic. We know he can handle himself in the ring. So what else is he capable of? Why would you chop his legs out before you even find out what he's capable of?
Guaranteed money is a tag team. The Usos tag team is guaranteed money. Guaranteed. You ain't got to do much. You just got to find a correct opponent for them. And it's
again, but that's the thing. Even him and Jimmy on their own, you don't have to split them up. You don't even have to think about splitting them up. But who's to say you don't run into a similar situation again? Because both of them have been injured for long stretches of time, and the other one is sitting there idle. God forbid something happens to Jimmy again and Jay's on his own. You throw him out there as a singles competitor, no one's going to take him seriously. Because he said, I quit.
They didn't take him seriously here. Bro, there's a lot of people that said I quit and they're fine.
They didn't say it to their cousin, and they didn't bow down to them and fall into a faction calling you leader. Like it's like if Buddy Murphy didn't rebel against Seth Rollins, no one would take Buddy Murphy seriously.
Because you're looking
at slapped around.
You look at storyline purposes. You're saying like, oh, if you say I quit, it's like it's something good. I mean, I can go to the list of people that said I quit and they've been fine. Mankind.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying when I brought that up before, though. Most of the people that have gone down and actually done that have been heels.
Rey Mysterio.
When?
He had an I quit match?
Yep. When? Back in 06 against Chavo.
And again,
I don't remember the details.
He only came back to relevance in 2014? After that? So that took him how long to get back to relevance for people to forget about the Chavo match? That's my point.
Jack Swagger.
You're talking about something. Jack Swagger, and where's Jack Swagger now?
I'm talking about here that they're here.
But you're further proving my point. Where's Jack? Does Jack Swagger exist?
John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, when he lost to Cena back in 05.
That's what I say. He was a heel though.
Oh, he was a heel.
Yeah, he was the heel. JBL was not a face. JBL, the character, was never a face.
Well, see, here's the thing. You're telling me people who say I quit and then haven't had success afterwards.
But I mean, again,
I get what he's saying, though.
JBL retired in like 2007.
So what I'm trying to tell you is like, just because you lose an I quit match doesn't mean like your knees are cut out.
I don't think it's just losing the match, though. I think in this situation, it's the fact that, one, he went out and basically said to the world, like, he had that promo, was a couple of weeks ago before the first match, where he was like, when people look at you, they see, the big dog and all those other accomplishments and everything. But when people look at me, the question is, which one are you? So it's right now, he's still in the process of trying to establish himself as himself. Like, even when we were sitting up here watching the match the other day from Clash of Champions, Michael Cole kept calling him Uso, like he does for everybody when he's sitting up there talking. He goes by their last name. Mm-hmm. It was throwing me off because I'm sitting up here waiting for him to say Jay. So I'm like, all right, he's still trying to establish himself as his own personal entity. And then during the match, Roman's trying to give him a call. He's like, call me the tribal chief. No, I'm not doing it. It doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter what he does. So at this point, I see it kind of sort of as, do you remember the feud between Belair and Baszler?
Right.
Where the two of them were facing off against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Baszler could not get Belair to tap out for nothing. She passed out. Mm-hmm. But then at the very next takeover, they're in the four-way, and she taps out. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
And again, Bianca never really recovered after that.
Yeah.
Bianca never recovered.
If you establish something, like that at any point, and you go back and you renege on it, you do more damage than you would have done had you not established it in the first place.
We're talking about WWE, bro. We're talking about Vince.
I know we are.
I know what we're talking about, but I'm saying again, it doesn't. If they do it that way, it's not going to make sense, and you're killing essentially one guy's push. You're killing it.
They're gonna do that. They've like you're talking like if they haven't done that. Like they've always done it. They've been known to kill pushes. And I get what they were doing with this, and we see it, but the way they're going about it is not the correct way. But I feel like they had no other choice but to go this way. You know what I'm saying? Because he's trying to get
the only way that this makes sense is if he literally beats him to the point that he can't speak, and they call the match. It's the only way.
That's the only other way I see this thing ending.
Yeah, but
then I honestly think that's how it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to say I quit.
He's going to keep going because Roman wants him to accept him as the tribal chief. It ain't going to end until it happens. So either it happens like at Hell in a Cell, or we're going to get another match where he has to say it.
Or Jimmy says it. The only other out is for Jimmy to concede, not Jay. Because Jimmy's already shown that he'll do whatever it takes for his brother.
Yeah, but
Jimmy would be the one to have to keep Jay in line.
But the whole point of
I quit happens, that's different.
But this is the whole point of the I Quit match is you avoid the whole throwing in the towel.
Right, but if he beats, but again, if Jay says I quit and basically falls under Roman's foot and kneels, how viable is Jay to a team anyway?
I got another one for you. It involves Jimmy saying I quit, but it involves him saying it from the back. Where you hide Jay's face while Roman has you got a camera angle coming from the side of his head or something like that, but it's towards the back of his head. Roman has the mic up to his face trying to get him to say I quit. Jimmy has the mic in the back and he says I quit for him because he's tired of it. That's the only way that you're honestly see that mess happening outside of him just being beat so bad that he's unresponsive and the match gets stopped.
Now I have a feeling because they say at what point this match is taking place, at what point in the card? The third, fourth.
No, they haven't said what point in the card this is taking place. I just know it's not going to be the main event.
I have this bad feeling. Like, you know how they always have like a match that's like your palate cleanser, your like squash match.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling this is gonna be it. I have a feeling that Roman's gonna squash him and he's gonna say I quit. I have this bad feeling. I hope it's not because of the fact these two have shown they could put a match together.
Right.
And I just hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I'm looking at the card. I'm like, we need a palate cleanser match. Where are we gonna get it?
Otis.
Two. Yeah, but
it depends on how they do the card, because we all agreed.
It's only 5 matches, so you don't really need a
we all agreed that it would be smart if they did the first 2 non-Hell in a Cell matches, then lowered the cage, and then did the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that that's what they're going to do. Who's to say that the opening match isn't going to be Sasha versus Bayley?
Because they do have a tendency of doing that when, they'll throw a heavy match first and then get to the middle of the card and then have the co-main event.
For all we know, these 2 matches, like the Jeff Hardy and Otis, are going to be squash matches, palate cleansers. So they may start off with Bayley versus Sasha Banks,
then go to Jeff
and Elias, then go
to
Roman Jay,
something else. Yeah,
Roman Jay, and then Otis Miz, and then Drew Randy. The way I'm looking at it, if we haven't palate cleanser matches, what these 2 were supposed to be, because there's no way Hardy and Elias are going to go past 10 minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think Hardy and Elias are going past the second match. But
nah, I don't think so either. I think Otis is on Raw, right? No,
Otis is on SmackDown.
No, he's on SmackDown.
Miz is on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. I could see that one being the being on before, being on match number 2, and Jeff and Hardy being the match before the main event. The reason being, if they give it to the Miz, it gives him time to chill, relax, and let you forget that he won Money in the Bank and he's on Raw, so that if he's gonna cash out against Drew, you kind of forget about it. Like, oh yeah, he did win it earlier tonight. You know what I mean? That's the only way I can see where Jeff Hardy and Elias goes a little later on, is because Otis and The Miz is the second match of the night, because they want you to watch The Miz win early, and then kind of throughout the night kind of forget that he won it. Because if he's gonna cash it in on Drew that night as the main event, then you kind of forget about it because where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, again, it ultimately though for me, like I understand what you're saying, and I don't even necessarily disagree with you. I only disagree in the sense that what's the point in Jay cutting the promos that he's cut already for them to completely renege and have him lose cleanly and succeed just to start a faction that's never going to have any vitality, because Jay Uso is always going to be the weak link.
I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, but you have to remember who we're talking about.
And again, I think too, I understand Vince has some to do with this, but I truly believe that this one is between Uso, Roman, and Paul Heyman. So that's the vantage point that I'm looking at it from. I'm not looking at it so much that Vince has a lot to do with this. I understand what you're saying because Vince has to okay it, but I think Vince trusts Roman more than anyone else to be able to know what to do.
Yeah.
So, and my whole thing is I don't know if Roman would allow his cousin to publicly embarrass himself like that with the family's name on the line. Because even though, you know, Afa and the other one, Sika, were at some point the head of the family, and Yokozuna was some point at the head of the family, Rikishi was never at the head of the family, but we never knew about the family strife. And Rikishi was able to rock and do whatever it is he was going to do. He never had to bow down in a way to anyone outside. Like the only time you saw it was when Rikishi ran over Stone Cold and was like, "This is for you," kind of thing. That's the only time you could even compare the circumstances.
I wonder if they're gonna add that to the storyline. I'm surprised they haven't, because of the fact, like,
I'm surprised they haven't, but
because it's saying like, "Hey, look, your father was like kind of like away from the family, so because of that, that's why you are at this point right now where you have to do this because of your father. You should blame your father regardless of this what you're going through right now." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that. You know,
they definitely could have, but that's my whole point. It's like
we don't know.
Rikishi was able to legitimize himself because we didn't see the hierarchy structure.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the hierarchy structure now, you're never going to take the guys at the bottom of the food chain seriously.
No, but we don't know because, again, remember, they have a mic in the ring. So we don't know. Roman might say it. Roman might grab the mic and talk. It's like, all right, before you give me your answer, if you quit, I want you to know why this is happening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You might go somewhere that route, and then we get an explanation why he's doing all this specifically with them. Like, we don't know. There's still a lot to be happening. I mean, there's still a story to be told here a little bit more. So let's see what happens, because we also have to wait till Jimmy comes back, you know?
And it seems like he's close if they keep having him show up and he doesn't have a brace, he doesn't have a bandage, he doesn't have everything for someone who tore their ACL.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
He was braced up by a Clash.
He was? I didn't see him with a brace. Okay. Well, yeah. Last couple of times I've seen him, I've not seen a brace. So, I mean, maybe he's close, but I didn't expect him back until Survivor Series or TLC. Like, I don't think he'll be cleared to wrestle until TLC, honestly.
Yeah. So
that's tough doctor. Yeah. Listen. We know that the technology for ACLs has come a long way, so it wouldn't surprise me if he got cleared sooner. But for like a full match, I don't think he'll be cleared until TLC.
Listen, speaking as a New York Giants fan, I really hope that technology continues to advance.
Saquon coming back would help. I'll put it that way.
I don't care. I don't like my man being hurt, yo.
It would help a lot. It would help a lot. I'll put it that way. It would help a lot.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Yeah, I just this match and the Sasha Banks match are the two that I'm most concerned about from a fan standpoint, because it could go really, really wrong, and there are very few ways for it to go right.
Yeah, there's like it's like Doctor Strange when he told Tony Stark here's a
14 million possibilities,
and there's only one to get it right.
And there's one, and you're just sitting up here like we were all like, well, what's the one? And then we saw the one, and we're like, no, that should no. There was a lot of other ways. Like no, there was not that one. That was not the one we wanted.
Yeah, so
I mean, we've all come to accept it, and I feel like that's what this is gonna be like. You may 100% be right, and I'm going to be upset about it for a very long time. But I'm going to also accept it because of the greater story here. But I'm not. I'm gonna go out kicking and screaming.
I mean, I gotta admit, Clash of Champions, because of the smaller. I like the smaller card that they're doing now, the pay-per-views, because it gives them more time to tell a story.
Right.
Because they're not being rushed. So I'm really pulling for this one, especially because it's not a main pay-per-view.
Right. And again, the significance of what the Hell in a Cell was for so long, it deserves its just due. Like, we need to see like walls of the cage come down. Somebody needs to get thrown through the cage. Like, we need old school Hell in a Cell matches at this point. Not just you throw somebody up against the cage a couple of times and you get a clean win in the ring. Like, that is boring.
And you see, this is one of the reasons why I have an issue with Hell in a Cell being a pay-per-view rather than its own match that just ends feuds.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 Hell in a Cell matches on this pay-per-view. I am not, and I don't think anybody would expect any of this ring crew to be putting the cell back together after it gets broken.
And that's the problem.
The only time I see anything getting like real wild is in the main event.
Yep.
Like, I mean, you saw the creativity that they had with Sasha and Becky last year. Like, that was insane. But,
and
so you can do stuff like that. And I'm not expecting
the New Day
him.
match.
Right. I'm not expecting Sasha and Bayley to break the cage, but Roman and Jey Uso, come on.
No, I think it'll be more Drew and Randy breaking the cage. Anything.
I know they will,
but Roman and Jey should is what he's saying. Like, there should be.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Like, someone should basically get thrown off of the cage at this point, a la Rikishi and Undertaker. Like, that spot should be in there.
You mean the choke push? Not even choke slam?
Choke push, or like a big boot or a Superman punch through like a couple of tables. Like, that spot should be in there for this feud.
We'll see, because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, they can do it. They just have to align the tables correctly.
Well, that, and they also have to break the chain on the cage. Somebody has to have bolt cutters, because you can't throw anybody through it without risking breaking the cage.
Paul Heyman.
If he's gonna be out there, that would make sense. He could either have bolt cutters or he could have
even Jimmy. You can even have Jimmy break it.
That's true. You can have Jimmy break it, and you have like Roman give him a Superman punch or do something where it doesn't expose the knee, but he takes him out. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of ways it can go. It's just a matter of how they're gonna do it. It was interesting. We're gonna watch and see.
Or what you could do is you could have Jimmy do a KO. A KO versus Shane. You could. He's the perfect guy to do a high spot like that and miss.
Yeah.
Then again, he couldn't say I quit after that either.
Nope.
You know, this match also very much could have a false finish. I don't know how you do that in a no disqualification match, but
the only way I see it happening is what happened with Foley and Flair in one of their matches, where Foley was so knocked out he couldn't talk, and the referee was trying to call the match, and Flair was like, "No, I want him to say I quit." So they could probably replicate that, where Roman beats the crap out of him so bad, the referee's trying to call the match, and Roman's like, "No, he needs to accept me as the tribal chief. He needs to say I quit. Like, he wants him to say the words I quit." So he wakes him up, smacks him.
Roman's gonna get disqualified,
and somehow gets disqualified. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a lot that could happen. We just gotta wait and see how they're gonna write it out. you know. So
Paul, are you in hell?
Hell in the Cell.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Thank you everybody for joining us. It's been a great show again for you. We'll see what we can do about doing a live, maybe tomorrow night or tonight for the Hell in the Cell. Whenever you're watching this, we don't know what's available. We know what's going on, but
I'm gonna have to
join
watch
us.
that audio next time.
Yeah, somebody keep that thing down. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, peace out.